Being between no longer and not yet means you can't go back to what was. It's gone. You know, I'll give you a personal example. I knew I really burned out seriously when I was at Harvard and running a mind body clinic, just attending to all the AIDS patients over the course of the epidemic, so many of them dying who had become good friends. The sheer number of patients that I saw, and the fact that I had a couple of teenage kids at home, a long commute. I bet a lot of your practitioners are in that place of trying to make a balance. I knew I had to leave, but often we know well before we're able to stage an exit and get to something else. What happened is I was running an AIDS group one night, and I said, none of us knows the time of our death. And then I said I could have an accident on my way home and die before you, and I did. I didn't die, but I had a head-on collision and ended up in the hospital for 5 days. And this is what I mean by something happens that you separate from what was. I couldn't go back to being the Joan that was burned out. I really realized this is it. I'm in the time between no longer and not yet. I cannot go back to Harvard, and I do not know what I will do next. So it takes, first of all, some patience, because right away when you're separated from something during the first stage, it's so uncomfortable for people to not know where they're going next that the urge is to make premature closure. The most common thing, let's say somebody gets a divorce, very often they'll marry on the rebound because they want to recreate the safety that marriage has, and it's often a big mistake. So the first thing you need to make it through that time between no longer and not yet is the realization that it requires patience, that it's okay to be in the unknown. When you look at what spirituality is and guidance is, I'd say that a lot of your practitioners who are listening in on this call will say, at some point you just know, you have a knowing about what's next. There are synchronicities or guidance of some sort. And that's what happens in the time between no longer and not yet. If you just rush to safety, you don't have a chance to allow the future that wants to emerge to come so that you can cooperate and co-create with it. This is, by the way, getting through these liminal times between no longer and not yet requires the same skills that the research on resilience tells us that we require.